Joining me today is New Hampshire Representative Jack Flanagan, who's running for Congress in New Hampshire. Jack, you were talking about a bill you had dealing with efficiencies.
Yep.
And I want to spend a little bit of time talking about that because it connects with the economic issue. But then I want to pivot, just to let you know where we're going, into defense.
Sure.
And national security issues.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about the efficiencies.
Sure. What happened was they labeled it the bounty bill years ago. And what happens is we actually have a state law dealing with suggestions that employees can make. And what happens is they can make as much as $250 to jeopardize their jobs. In essence, saying that the budget's too fat or this person's not doing their job, it actually makes it a very sensitive area to the point where we may only have 1 or 2 suggestions a year based on, I think there's 20,000 employees in the state of New Hampshire.
So 20,000 employees were on average suggesting less than 10.
Less than 10.
Okay.
What I said was, instead of making $250, you'll make 10% of whatever the state saves. So it incentivizes letting basically the workers, the ones that deal with the day-to-day activities, make our state more efficient. And then on top of that, no one's going to know about it other than the executive council and the governor, because they're the ones deciding whether or not to grant this type of money. And
that doesn't get reported later anywhere?
Well, it will at the time that the person gets the check for the suggestion. Yeah. That's 91A, RSA 91A issues. Yeah. The first year, it got killed in the Senate. And actually, this year, it got killed by Representative Kirk because I was unable to attend. I had a leaky pipe in my home. But it's been an ongoing battle for me because, I think we can always do things a little bit better. And it really does use a resource that the state doesn't get involved that much. Because, how many times have you seen in a corporation where someone says, we could save X amount of dollars if we just did it this way? And I'll give credit to the state and the program is someone had heard of a new type of plow at the DOT that instead of flat, it had a point or something like that, and it actually made plowing more efficient. So the person made $250, but it may have saved the state hundreds of thousands of dollars. And
well, that may be why Neil didn't want to give the 10%.
Maybe, yeah. Well, actually, too, and we were bumping heads, too, because some representatives were like going, well, if it's $1 million, we're giving them $100,000. And I said, yeah, but we're saving $900,000. He said, well, let's cap it at $50,000. And I'm like, well, if that's what will get the legislation moving, I would get a half of a loaf instead of a full loaf. But that's an example of what I mean by making government more efficient. I think anybody in Concord or even in my district knows that when I was a selectman and I know a school board member, I know it's a taxpayer's dollar.
So I do, as I promised, to turn to national security. Sure. We have about 3 minutes in this segment.
Gosh.
I know time goes fast, doesn't it?
How can I do it in 3 minutes?
So Asia or the Middle East, which of the areas do you think is sort of in the next 2 years the most important for the United States to focus on?
Well, Asia meaning like North Korea and China.
North Korea, China, and the Middle East, obviously.
Short term, I'm going to say the Middle East, because with the Asia, we have countries that are established, they have more to lose. Whereas in the Middle East, we're dealing with these rogue groups and so forth. So we need to have a strategy in place, whether it includes various countries in the Middle East, to come together and produce a more unified front. There is a problem, and it is radical Islam, not only in the Middle East, but it's now coming to this country too. So I think right now, short term, it would be that Middle East.
The U.S., should we have boots on the ground? And also in the Iraq,
yep.
Should we not? What's your view on that?
I think we should have never left completely out of Iraq, because as soon as we left, no boots on the ground. When President Obama said on this date we'll have them out, soon as that happened, in come the insurgents, and all of the work and actually the blood of veterans that were left there is now gone. I mean, it's total chaos. Syria is another example. We need to literally open up a section, send the Marines in, and say this is the protected area, bring in the Army Corps and engineers, bring in tents, that type of thing, where we can reestablish Syrians who, a majority of them want to go back to their home country. So those are some of the things that need to be looked at, especially in the Middle East.
We got about 20 seconds left. Iran.
Rogue. We're much bigger than they are. I think, again, another unified front, but I'm running out of time to talk about it. But I think we should have never gave them their $150 billion back.
Okay. Well, we're out of time in that segment. But the next segment, we're going to talk about social issues. So please, stay with us.